Welcome back to my channel. This one is not going to be about my fitness journey, although I guess periphery wise it has something to do with that, but this is about a medical condition that I got diagnosed with last week. I have not mentioned this on any of my videos, I don't think, but I'm going to delve into it now, and it's something that a lot of people don't like to talk about. It's something that has been considered taboo in our society for as long as we've pretty much been a society, and I am going to work to make that not so. So today I'm going to talk about my uterus and periods and the things that can go wrong. Let's just say I come from a family of a lot of women, and most of those women have had some kind of what we would call women problems. Painful periods, endometriosis, benign cysts, just a lot of pain that went along with being a woman. It's amazing how much women deal with and yet still keep on going through life. But at the same time, we're taught that we're not allowed to talk about this stuff because it grosses people out. Nobody needs to know about it. Men don't want to hear about it. But the truth is, this is half our population. Half our population is women. Half our population goes through this, yet we're being told that we're not allowed to talk about something that is a major part of our life and affects pretty much every corner of our life. And I think that needs to end. So I'm going to do that right now and destigmatize the uterus and tell you all about what's going on in my female parts. So, like I said, I come from a family that has a lot of lady issues, and somehow the next generation, me and my cousins, we are disproportionately male in our generation, where it was reversed on the other one. But the females in my family, in my generation, seem to have skipped the female problems for the most part, which I'm immensely relieved about. But you know, it all catches up to you at some point. Up until a couple months ago, I had a very regular period. It showed up every 26 to 28 days. I would have 3 days of light bleeding or spotting. And then on the third day, I would have what I would call angry uterus day or murder scene day, where my uterus actively tried to kill me. It would be a very heavy flow. It would be a lot of pain. I would be on a lot of Advil. It would last 24 to 36 hours, and then it would be done. And then I would have like a day of light spotting, a day of nothing, and then what we call dump day, which is you think you're done with your period and you decide it's safe to go without anything, and then all of a sudden your body dumps whatever was left in your uterus out and you ruin your pair of underwear. That happens a lot. You just have to be, you know, looking for it. Dump day, day after you think your period is done. Anyway, in March, my period did not show up. Actually, it did. I started spotting, and then it stopped after 1 day. And then it never showed up again. And I was like, I better not be pregnant, because my husband got a vasectomy, and we're really loyal to each other, so I don't know what's going on. Although my husband did get snipped, he did not go and check to see if the snipping had worked. So we've always been living with that, like, maybe going on there. He's just decided he doesn't have time to go get his junk checked. So anyway, I was a little worried that I might have gotten pregnant. I do not want any more babies, and but I am also Leiden factor 5 positive. Not the one where I have both genes, just one, but that makes me more prone to possible blood clotting issues. So me and hormones really don't get along, mainly estrogen. So I don't let, being on the pills not really an option for me, because that has actually caused blood clots in my family. Have I mentioned that the women in my family have a lot of women problems? 2 of my aunts got blood clots from being on the pill. So that has been a big no-no for me for a really long time. So after I had my last kid, I told my husband, it's your turn. You're going to get snipped. And everything's been going along since then until March. And all of a sudden, my period just didn't show up. But what did show up is a lot of discharge. Another thing people don't like to talk about, but every woman goes through. Regular discharge is clear, doesn't smell, just like a little bit of mucusy kind of thing. When I ovulate, I get a lot of discharge. It's like my body's lubing up and going, we're ready for you. That's kind of what happened, to the point where I almost felt like I was having a blank period. Like there was so much coming out, but it was all perfectly normal, but it was way too much. And I'm like, what is going on? So I called my doctor and made an appointment. By the time I got in to see my doctor, my period had actually started, but it was light and it was going for like 2 weeks. So I went from having no period to having a period that was lasting forever, but it was like somebody turned on a slow spigot and it was just like dripping, drip, drip, drip. And there was no angry uterus day. There was no flushing of the uterus. It was just kind of like slowly meandering out. And so when I went to go see my doctor, she said, well, you must have a hormonal imbalance. You have too much estrogen. She did a ultrasound on my uterus, and she was like, your lining is really thick. So your estrogen has built up your lining, but you don't have enough progesterone to flush it out. So I'm going to put you on Provera for like 5 days, and it'll give you a monster period that's going to clean everything out, and hopefully it'll restart your cycle and you'll be fine. But before I do that, I need to take a biopsy to make sure that there's no big issues in there, that we need to know about that might be causing this. So she takes a biopsy. Having your cervix scraped is not fun, but needs to happen. And then I started taking Provera. It immediately stopped the bleeding that I had. And then about 4 days went by, and then I started bleeding again, but it wasn't anything bad. And I was like, oh, I guess she was over-exaggerating about the monster period. Until one morning I woke up and was in so much pain and was bleeding through super tampons within an hour. It was like a murder scene has less blood than I was producing. I mean, when they say monster period, they are not lying. I mean, I couldn't leave the house. I was locked down. I was bleeding through stuff left and right. It was crazy, mass hemorrhaging. So anyway, in the middle of this, my doctor had called and said, well, we need to talk about your biopsy results. Now for men out there that don't understand, when a woman goes in for any kind of pap smear, annual biopsy, anything like that, the doctor's office will just not call you if there's nothing wrong. If everything comes up normal, you will not hear from them. They only call when there is something wrong. So when your doctor's office calls up and says, hey, you need to come in to talk about your biopsy, you start thinking you're about to die. So anyway, I head in on my monster period, thinking I'm getting told I have cancer, like I'm going to have to cut off the bottom half of my body, like, some kind of crazy shit that goes through your head when you hear about health problems. And I got there and my doctor said, oh, no, you're not dying. Don't worry. You have simple endometrial hyperplasia. So basically what she had said at the beginning about having too much estrogen and my lining building up is basically an actual medical condition. And it wasn't just a fluke hormonal imbalance. It's something that is actually wrong with me. I don't know why it started now. I don't know what's going on. According to the indicators, I'm white and I'm over 35. And out of like the 10, 15 indicators, those are the 2 I have. So I have no idea why it hit me, but she said the lining of your uterus is too thick, which will give you a 1% increased chance of cancer in the next decade. But if you don't do anything about it, it'll get worse, and then your chances go up to like 25%. So in order to help alleviate this, she suggested getting an IUD or taking the pill. But she said, you know, I really prefer the IUD. I had an IUD before. I've had two. In between my second and third kid, it was 6 years in between the two. So I had one for 5 years, and then they're only good for 5 years. And I got a new one put in, and then a year later I got it taken out because I decided I wanted to have my daughter. And I've never really had a problem with them. For the most part, it's been fine. So I was like, fine, IUD, it's great. Anyway, I also was very clear with everybody in my life exactly what was going on. And that includes all my coaches at the gym, everybody I work out with, anybody I run into. I will tell about my monster period and my massive blood loss and bleeding through super tampons. The girls are all like, oh, we totally understand. And I'm like, you know, I'm trying to make this less awkward for people. If we make this a bigger thing in life, it won't be so weird when one person talks about it, you know, if it's something that everybody realizes. The guys that I work out with were a little less sanguine about it. They were like, oh my God, like, that's what you're going through? Like, and you're here? Like, how are you functioning? And I'm like, we're women. This is what we do. Like, we do this and we continue being badasses in life. That's what being a woman is. So, but anyway, I am educating the men around me with all the women problems that can go on and trying to desensitize them to the fact that I'm talking about periods, blood, and uteruses and all that good stuff. And that is something I think we all need to do. My sons get to hear about it all the time. There is no, vagueness or, innuendo. They know specifically what is going on with their mother. And when their little sister starts her period, they'll hear it from her too. They should know what's going on with their relatives and their partners in life. This is not something to be hidden. This is something that we go through. And, if I hurt my arm or broke my foot, I'd be talking about that, but I'm not allowed to talk about my uterus and what's going on there, even though it's affecting a lot of my life right now. Like, that doesn't seem right. So fuck that. I'm going to talk about it, and I think everybody else should too. If you're comfortable talking about your life and your body, talk about your life and your body, and eventually other people will learn to deal with it, because it is time to bring this kind of discussion out of the shadows. So anyway, I did get my IUD put in on Tuesday. It hurt like a motherfucker. I don't remember it hurting that bad the first 2 times. It might be because of the thickened lining that I'm having, my body's having a hard time adjusting to it. I tried to go back to the gym the next morning. I made it through the warm-up, and I realized that I felt like my uterus was getting stabbed. So I actually had to bow out of my workout, take a lot of Advil. I was in a lot of pain for the rest of the day. I was in pain yesterday. I'm still in pain today, but I don't need to be on Advil, but I'm still a little crampy, but I can feel it's getting better. But it's going to be a painful thing. Hopefully it will be back, and I will be back in the gym on Monday, and this will just be a period of time where I just took some rest. But my gym knows why I'm out. I was not vague about it. I told them I got an IUD put in. It hurt a lot. My uterus is bruised and violated and very angry right now, and I'm in a lot of pain, so I cannot do the workout. And everybody's been very compassionate about it. Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah. Take your time. So there it is. It's my public service announcement for today. Talk about your uterus. Talk about what's going on with you. This is not something that should be hidden. This is something that should be normal discussion. It is part of us. It's part of our lives. and it shouldn't be hidden away. So in this new generation of Me Too and women's equality and trying to get everything out there, I realized that in all this other stuff we're talking about, nobody's talking about what it means to be female and what we go through, and the fact that people still hide tampons to try to go to the bathroom because nobody's allowed to know you're on your period. That's just gross. Nobody you don't want to have the crinkle of the wrapper. The guys in the office might make fun of you, things like that. No, look, I have a tampon. I'm on my period. It happens to almost every woman in a certain age range every month for their whole life, Almost every woman goes through this. The ones that don't go through it usually are going through something worse. We should be able to talk about it. So there it is. I have endometrial hyperplasia, and I had to get an IUD put in to help me with it. I went through a monster period. I'm going through a lot of pain right now, but it will subside and I'll go back to living my life. Thank you. I'll talk to you all later. Bye.